Okay, hello. I'm going to be replacing the battery in my grandmother's 5th generation iPad mini today. This is going to be quite a drastic change from what I used to upload, but that was nearly 600 days ago, so I think you'll recover. Let's get into it. This is quite an interesting repair for a number of reasons. Firstly, the size of the iPad. It's obviously really small, hence the mini, which makes getting in and manoeuvring your tools harder than you'd expect, and also it reduces the amount of points you have to get some opening picks in, because you don't want to go through the cables, and proportionally more of the display is display cable, because you need the same amount of cable for a smaller display, just there's also less area to put the cable. There's also not a lot of space in the iPad itself. It is exclusively occupied by components like the battery and the logic board. That means that actually getting to the battery adhesive is difficult. So what iFixit actually recommends is isopropyl alcohol at a concentration of 90% or above. And having used it, because I'm recording this voiceover afterwards, I completely agree. So you'll see later on, but it gets through it very effectively. And because it's basically pure alcohol, it just evaporates afterwards. It's really useful. I might start using it on more adhesive. Going into opening the screen, I thought I was going to have some issues in heating up the adhesive because I didn't bring my heat gun with me. But it actually was really effective. I guess hairdryers get hotter than I thought they would. That or this adhesive was weaker on the screen than normal. As we go on in the repair, you'll notice that I've had to put black boxes in a few places. Some of that's because it's my face, and that's blanked for both of our sakes, and other bits are because people walked past, because I had to do it on the kitchen table. Also, the camera angles don't always work out. Sometimes the camera gets nudged, sometimes I'm just working out of frame. The quality will improve as I get used to it and as I have the space to work in. I've got the first opening pick in now. I only brought 3 opening picks because I was travelling lightly and I didn't bring enough. I just grabbed the first 3 opening picks I could see, and I would recommend you did this repair with at least 4. I managed to do it, but I only managed because I used the card that are supposed to be used for the battery adhesive, but it would have been nicer to have the opening picks. So, despite my camera's best efforts, the screen is now removed, and we can move on to getting the battery out, which is a slightly more interesting element. So now that the isopropyl alcohol has weakened that adhesive for us, I can start prying it up with the iFixit cards, which was a bit of a pain, but it got done. You can see I was reluctant to push too hard because I didn't want to break the battery, but actually, in my experience, you can push quite hard as long as you're pushing in the right area. You've got to push down into the case and get the card along the adhesive, because it's already weakened, but it needs a bit of action to actually break it off of the battery. The battery's starting to peel up now, which is a good sign. The battery adhesive has weakened properly, and we are ready to start sliding around and get close to actually taking the finished result off. I'm applying more isopropyl alcohol to the adhesive now that I've got a nice opening to put it in. For this I'm using a syringe my rats had for some medicine that wasn't used, but honestly I think like a spray bottle would work. I'm actually getting mine out of a spray bottle, but obviously I'm using the syringe. Okay, keep pushing. Push. Push now. Okay, keep pushing. Push, push. Oh, and it's a beautiful flammable baby battery. Well done. On a more serious matter, now the battery's out, we need to get rid of all the leftover adhesive, both from the casing that held the screen in place, because we're going to put a new screen adhesive on, and actually where the battery was held down. The isopropyl alcohol will have evaporated by the time this is done, and for me this was one of the more time intensive areas, although it still didn't take very long. This was a really short repair, only an hour and a half, but luckily for you this is a video, so I'm going to skip all of that. 10 minutes of cleaning later, this is when I realised the battery doesn't look the same. My new battery doesn't have the bracket included as part of its design, just to save money and because the battery you're replacing will have it. So I take that out, so I take it off the old one, put it onto the new one. It's not a big deal. It doesn't actually even need to go on the new one, it just needs the 2 screws mentioned earlier putting on top. Also, if you can hear any background noise, my brother's playing his guitar. Apologies. Well, now that the iPad has a new battery, we should probably see about putting the screen back on, because it's pretty useless otherwise. Time to reapply the screen adhesive. It took me a while to figure out even which way up to put it, so I've sped that up quite a bit. It is weird looking, the adhesive strips. Make sure yours is the correct way up if you're doing this at home. I decided to skip the majority of the applying the adhesive because it was just really dull. So in the edit I've removed a lot of the time I spent putting the screws back in, but for some reason I just couldn't get it to work. I don't know if my bit was actually a bit too big, but it was the correct size according to the guide. So I've edited that out, but suffice it to say I took the best part of 10 minutes getting rid of it. Anyway, the repair's done now. I fixed the iPad, the battery worked perfectly, calibrated it, returned it to my grandma. It works. Video's over. I'm just going to talk about what's going to happen next. I've got 2 ideas for projects in the future. Either I have a 20-year-old laptop that I'm going to try and install Linux on at some point. In theory, I've got the correct drive for that. Or I've got a broken keyboard that I need to try and fix. So if you've got a strong opinion either way, tell me. And remember to like and subscribe so you can get the next upload in my glacial upload schedule. Maybe I can do it within this year. Wouldn't that be amazing? Also, just a final addition from pretty much the final voiceover I'm going to do in this video, I think. Obviously, this is the first time I've done a repair video like this. If you've got suggestions, leave them in the comments, that's what they're for. Constructive criticism is always welcomed. I would really like to know your opinions, your ideas on how I can do this better, and if you've got ideas for future projects as well. And yeah, should you know someone in the southwest of England that requires a device repaired, recommend West Country Repairs. Right, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, that's really terribly said. but thank you.